Okay, let's talk about Alfred Collins, 49ers second round pick, 43rd overall. Kyle Shanahan's alma mater. Took Michael Williams from Georgia in the first round yesterday. Everybody kind of knows what he is. I'm assuming not a lot of people know who Alfred Collins is. So what I want to do is I want to use Florida's game as an example of what the 49ers are getting, because I think that, in my opinion, is the best example of just who he is as a player, from his strengths to where he needs to improve, where he's going to grow as a player. So let's get into who Alfred Collins is. Okay, so on Mock Draftable, they have these spider graphs, and I think this is a pretty accurate depiction of who he is. So you see height, weight, wingspan, arm length. I'll scroll down to the arm length here. So 90 percentile all across the board. So his actual measurables: over 6'5", 332 pounds, 85-inch wingspan, 34.5-inch arms, which is like Armand Mimbo level. So 90 percentile, 97, 92, 94. But hand size, kind of small. Vertical jump, not great. Broad jump, not great. And I think that plays into who he is, because he is a fifth-year senior. Don't know if he's going to change. And I do think Collins' lower body strength is an issue. So I want to get back to the film. But athleticism matters in athletics. So you have to say who this person is, right? Like who he's comparable to. And honestly, some of the players that he's most comparable to, one is Derek Harmon, who went in the first round. So let's get back to the tip. Okay, this is going to sound pretty silly, but in my mind, and here he is, nose tackle. By the way, spent 52% of his snaps in 2024 as a nose tackle. So just head up on the center. He didn't start until 2024. So he appeared in a bunch of games, but didn't really take over the start as a starter until his fifth year. Back to the point. When a defensive lineman can read a screen, to me, high-level awareness, high-level football intelligence, right? He understands. A lot of times, and I've used this reference before, a defensive line coach will say, hey, if you aren't being blocked, obviously they're letting him go, right? The center does not block him. If you're getting a pass rush for the first time, that's because they're not blocking you, and it frustrates the hell out of defensive line coaches. But you see here, that's not an issue for Collins. So instantly tells me, okay, good football player, right? Smart football player, understands the assignment. So I think that is a plus, even though there are no stats for that play we just showed. Okay, here he is, nose tackle. This is 2 plays later. And you get to see the arm length, that 90 plus percentile arm length. And you also get to see some other factors and traits, right? So you want to know, how is a defensive lineman firing off the ball? Is he playing high? And instantly, he's not. You see, he's bent, right? He's not. This is high, right? If you're standing straight up, if your legs are straight, you're firing off the ball high. That is not the case here. But back to the arm length. So he's fighting over the top of the block. That's good to see, right? Like, just because you lose the initial stalemate, which is right here, doesn't mean you have to stop trying. It definitely doesn't mean you have to stop trying. That's not what we want, right? So he's firing off, he's fighting over, and then you see the arm poke. And look at that ball. Guess who forced that fumble? That is 95 in the middle. So that the arm length, right? That's strength. That is having the awareness, again, to work yourself toward the ball. If you can't get there, good things will happen. Stick your arm out. I don't want to call it a fluke play, but that's what you want to see. Your defensive line working to the ball and making a play, and sure enough, force fumble. Okay, and if we can just be honest about the 49ers run defense over the past 2 years, their defensive tackles, not named Eric Armstead, were dreadful against the run. Here he is, right here. Malik Collins, Javon Hargrave, they could not just stand up and hold their ground. And I feel like that's where Michael Williams comes into play. That's why you're seeing the 49ers spend an early pick on a 330-pounder, because they were not mean enough. They could not hold their ground. They were not good against the run. This is not any type of special play whatsoever. But we get to see a defensive lineman hold his ground, right? So he makes contact. You see the offensive lineman's trying to get lower. What does he do? He locks out. Great right arm length. Can't make a play when you're not engaged. And he holds his gap. He holds his ground. So ideally, right, whether this is D. Winters, Fred Warner, somebody coming up to make a play, the way that it's just plays out for the defense, the corner comes in. But because he doesn't give ground, they're able to get a stop. Okay, next thing you want to see is how do they play when they're in multiple spots. So I've showed primarily as a nose tackle. Here he is playing wide. So 1, 3, and this is like a wide 5. So he's on the edge. He's playing defensive end. And now we get to see, so now we can just see what it looks like with Collins. Stacks and sheds, right? He can throw you out of the way, and that's just power. That's a good sign that he's violent, and that's what the 49ers really lacked along the defensive line, especially last year with all the injuries. But there's the violence. This should be another play where this is Winters, this is Warner, this is whoever's playing linebacker. He reads the run, he reads whoever's in front of him, he's able to make the play. But because the linebacker doesn't make the play, Florida's able to get a sizable gain here. But we're looking at Collins, right? And does Collins do his job? Collins is responsible for this gap. Does he win that gap? I'd say so. He throws a guy out of the way. So again, like, there are positive plays. 3 plays in a row we show Collins making some positive plays. Okay, and the reason that the 49ers do covet length so much, here he is. So again, 0. Now he's just head up over here. So the reason that the 49ers covet length so much is because, again, like, when these guys are going against guards, tackles, whoever it may be, that arm length does a lot. It gives offensive linemen hell. They can't even execute a double right here against him. So again, if you remember last year, the doubles against the 49ers D tackles did not go well at all. So here, gets into the offensive lineman and then locks out. This is supposed to be a combo, but it doesn't work out well because he's able to use that length. So he's able to just hold up well. And I think it's important to point these plays out. Everything doesn't have to be splashy. Everything doesn't have to be a sack or a tackle for a loss. Hold your ground, right? That's it. So earlier today, Michael Williams spoke, and he said that he needs to get into his pass rush plan quicker. And I actually have those exact notes when it comes to Collins. So here he is, and I'll show the end zone angle, but he takes too long to get into his spin, right? Into his pass rush, because right there he wins, but because he doesn't get into the pass rush quick enough, quarterback's able to get rid of it by the time he hits his drop. So from the end zone angle, you'll have a better idea. So this is kind of who Collins is as a pass rusher. Here he is right here. He is going to lock out, right? He's going to look around, and then he's going to set up a spin. And that's a very athletic move. Think about it. 332 pounds. He's an athlete. To be able to pull that off, he's actually covering ground while he spins. But it needs to be, so he makes contact right here. And then right now, he should be 1-2 spin. But kind of lollygag in. See, he gets his arm over. Like, there's a path here. There's a plan. He knows what he's doing, but it's just taking too long to get there. The athleticism is there. Just be quicker. And that's where Chris Kosar is going to come into play, right? That's where the coaching is going to come into play. That's where, being a pro should help Collins. All right, he's going to win a lot. Here he is as a 3 tech. He's going to win a lot just because of his length. And here, you get to see it here. He's going to actually crash down into the guard. Guard's going to try to move him. Guard does not move him, locks out, is able to spot the ball, and then just makes a play. So it's one thing, right? You're taking day 3 guys if they can't finish, but Collins does show out throughout this game that he has the awareness to not only find the ball, but actually finish and make the play. So that's good to see right there. Okay, remember that spin I talked about a couple plays ago? How about this? So this time, he actually sets the left guard up, gets into his plan quicker, and wins right away. And what happens when you win right away? You get that quarterback hit. So that is how it should look, right? And it's nice to know that he is setting it up, and he's not just spinning in place too. So you get a Euro, he's covering ground, and the reason that he's stepping side to side like this, he's trying to get 77 to shift his weight. So step there, using his hands, and then the spin with this left arm to make sure that I can clear you and you're not going to be able to recover is a thing of beauty. So this is probably one of his best, if not the best rep from this game. And it's what you want to see, right? Hey, if I'm going to take a defensive tackle at 43, you better have some damn pass rush ability. And you can see that Collins does on this play. So a really positive rep right there. Okay, the sign of a good athlete, right, regardless of how much he weighs, 332 pounds, is if you can line him up on the tight end. So again, like, we're just counting 1, 3, 5, 4i, 5, whatever you want to call it. So here, Collins gets matched up against the tight end. What usually happens when you're matched up against the tight end? Glad you asked. They have no chance. Either does running back, gets a tip, and maybe 49ers take this guy too. I would. Collins, though, That's what you have to have. You have got to make the offensive coordinator pay for blocking any defensive lineman with a tight end, let alone a 332-pounder. So tight end wants no part of that. Running back's like, I didn't sign up for this. What are you doing? How did we get here? Once look at that. That's an Olay block. But this is what you want, right? You create mismatches, and this is what Collins is. I think it's important to show all these plays because Collins is winning from here, here, here. So he's winning from every gap along the defensive line, and you get to see that right here. Poor tight end, poor running back, get interception. Okay, here we go. Getting into that pass rush plan sooner, a la Mykel Williams. So here he is, 3-tech on a passing down. Collins is going to try to push-pull, and that's exactly what you see. So he's going to get his hands on, engage, lock out. He's going to push him and then pull. The problem is, why not do that right away? Why not execute your move from the jump? That way, you don't have to wait 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. By the time you wait that long, you're never going to have time to win. You're never going to win within the structure of the play. So you'd like to see, as soon as he makes contact, he's trying to lock out right now. But instead, there's a half count too late. And by now, he's already pulling the guard forward. So he's winning, and the quarterback's at the top of his drop. So these split seconds matter. And that's the difference between making a quarterback hit, sack, whatever it may be, or winning late like that. You don't want to win late because it does nothing for you. So you see the progress, right? You see that he's capable of winning as a pass rusher, but he needs to win sooner. And as you can see on the very next play, another win for Collins. I believe this is a tight end again, right? Yeah, it is. So another bench press for a run stop. This guy. Sorry for you. So here's Collins. He's going to slant. No shot. Absolutely no shot. And the 49ers need beef up front, right? They need players who can not just, hold their own against the run, but I want to say dominate, because the thing that kind of gets me is when you hear online talk, social media talk about the 49ers of yesteryear, when they were at their best, it wasn't because their pass rush. It was because their run defense was 1, 2, 3 in the league. They gave up next to nothing with their best defense, whether that was 2022, whether that was 2021, 2019. I really think that 2022 defense was wildly underrated, and a large part was because a few plays a game where that lack of broad jump, vertical jump, which is just lower body explosion. That's the best way to quantify what these jumps mean. And obviously in athletics, those are very key matters. Like, those are very key traits. And I think from watching Collins a few games, like, his lower body strength is an issue. And you can kind of see it right here where he's going to go up against a double team. They're going to chip him right there, but he can't really stand his ground. You see him just move back a little bit. It may not seem like much because the ball's not going in his direction, but you watch his feet, right? You want to make sure you get that foot right there in the ground right away, because if you don't, that's what happens. You're going to get moved back. And there's a few other plays like this over the course of just his games, the film that I watched. So I'm interested to see how he develops, how he develops his body. If they're like, hey, like, maybe lower body strength is just never going to be a thing for him. He is a 5th-year senior, but if they can harness that, if he gets just a little bit stronger, it'll be very, very tough to get Collins off the field. But he's a 5th-year senior again, so I think this might just be who he is. But that would be, honestly, my only gripe is lower body strength and winning right away, right? Just having a plan, executing that plan, and that's where Chris goes. The 49ers options, because they didn't really have options last year. But with Mykel Williams, with Collins being able to play multiple spots, it's just very tough to be mad at what the 49ers did with their first 2 picks. And again, last play here, you can just see, this wasn't even my plan to show this, but I'm glad it pops up. You can see the length, right? They have a clear path with what they want in their defensive lineman, and locking guys out and just jarring. Watch his helmet. Watch how 71's upper body goes backward as soon as Collins locks out right there. Like, that is what you want, man. If you have that kind of extension, you're going to make quite a few plays in the NFL. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'm going to try to do this, not for Collins. I want to do more videos on Collins. I'm not just want to show Florida, right? I want to show multiple games so you can see maybe how he progresses as a player. but you get an idea of who he is here. So for the rest of the subscribe, comment if there's anything else. If there's another game, I'm going to come back with Michael obviously next week, but with the players that, we really don't know much about, I'll start with them first. But Collins is going to play for the 49ers. He's probably going to start.